Hi, DC News. Mima Obibia Akwaba. Ahadi latest and hot news mkwa enamide bremo. Enuti se winya subscribe ya. Omodi say over subscribe to the channel. Yobe say over click the subscribe button. Now what barely notification where there's a new video be upload or the first person who sabeka sa video. Afenyo give us a thumbs up. My thumbs up. Nafi. Share my Ato Forson on your behavior and say hadi latest and hot news mkwa enamide bremo. Afenyo share a year and sema apeto ye ponsu. Inti a year sankumo ya airposu sema apeto ye inti.
How many weeks left for the country to go through all what is going through? Don't think it's only NPP. It's Ghana going through these challenges. The way things are going, I believe that next month is going to be Christmas, and workers are not even going to have their salary because Parliament we have to approve. So media, I decided not to talk, but what I saw at the conference center when I was coming, I've been treating you, I'm pleading with you to be very objective. You see, taking entrenched position to support a political party will not help this country. And if you know the power of the media, if you do your work well, the respect you earn, I'm begging you, you are jeopardizing your positions in society because of the way some of you politicize issues, and it won't help this country. We all want to move forward. I personally don't care whoever wins, so long as we have a peaceful country that you can breathe. I've been to war-torn countries and I know the sufferings some people are going through. That is why I don't preach for war. If not, I would have also encouraged whatever going on. I want to be the faith of the country. Today I shouted at my young man because he asked me a question, why are you running away? How can I run away? Let me tell you what actually happened this morning, which the leader did not address. He saw me going to I even entered the chamber. We were at the caucus meeting. So we took a decision that, look, Ken, go with the leadership, engage the speaker and the NDC people, then we go in. Because we heard they are sitting on our side, which is the right-hand side of the speaker. So go and engage the speaker. Unfortunately, when we got there, they were sitting. That is why we returned. Not that I was running away. And we couldn't stop the proceedings. So it's not deliberate that MPP refused. We needed to engage the speaker. I'm not the leadership. I'm not one of them. But they respect my opinion. And I know speaker is my friend before I even came to Parliament. He was my company lawyer. So I give him that respect. And sometimes I go to him and share ideas. So they say this time, go to your man. Unfortunately, our caucus meeting took so long. And there was no TV there for us to see that they were sitting. So, young man, I was not running away. We were coming to consult the speaker and the minority group before we go in there. And unfortunately, when we went there, he was sitting. And we had to walk away. Now, the question is, where NDC was sitting, where did you want me to go and sit? Exactly. Where?
Or if you go and fight them.
Do you want me to go and pull my chair from my colleague from the other side? No. We don't want that January 7th, 2021, what transpired at the chamber to continue to be a precedent. No. So peacefully, I just worked out with Deputy Majority Leader and the two whips. We want peace to prevail. So please, you are the mouthpiece of this country. Whatever you do, if you do it right, it will benefit the country. You go wrong, the whole country will be doomed. So don't let us politicize issues. Be objective, pragmatic, and first, you should all love this country. Look, 6 weeks or 2 weeks, 2 months ago, Burkina, they line people doing whatever they call trenches, and 600 of them, they shot them. Is that what we need in this country? Because of somebody's power, nobody, whether you're MPP, NDC, political party, will push me to go and take arms. It won't work. We have nowhere to go, only Ghana. So you should be mindful of whatever you are going to say. This politics, where politicians, journalists have taken trench and politicians have taken trench, it won't help us. So I'm begging you. What actually happened today, it was not deliberate that we were boycotting, but we wanted to get understanding from the speaker. So we were at the caucus meeting, and maybe I will admit that it took so long.
But that is even allowed in parliamentary culture.
I engaged Honorable Agboja and told him, and he said, oh, then you made a mistake. You should have informed the speaker that you were at the caucus meeting. The speaker didn't do, which I cannot defend because I'm not part of the leadership. And I'm sure he's right. I'm sure if my leaders have informed the speaker that we're holding a meeting and we'll be back, definitely he would have waited. So,
Ken, it was the onus also on the so-called majority group leaders to inform the speaker, where are your colleagues? And he will tell them they are in caucus. They want to tell us that nobody knew that we were having a caucus meeting.
Well, he can be Epimenides and sit on the fence, because even if he knows, and once there's no official communication, I can pretend I didn't know. That one day, I can pretend I didn't know.
People sitting on our seats.
Yeah, that's the problem. I've posed that question because I entered the chamber and I saw NDC occupying MPP seats. So I just had to leave. I told the leader and the leadership, the two whips and deputy majority leader, that we should go back. And even that, you won't believe it, my lawyer, another lawyer of mine, Honorable Andy Akubi. Honorable Andy Akubi is my lawyer. But we nearly fought over there. You know, so, but that's the game of politics. But we don't want you to fund it. Because when there's a problem, don't think you hold the camera and you'll be saved. All of us. So young man, I was not running away. I wanted peace. As for running away, it's not in my vocabulary. But when we are growing, there you know. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. That's all right. No problem. No problem.
Honorable members, I extend a warm and hearty welcome to each and every one of you as we commence this extraordinary meeting of the 4th session of the 8th Parliament of the 4th Republic. This meeting is a response to a request for a recall first dated 22nd of October 2024, and the subsequent one dated 24th of October 2024, both pursuant to Article 1123 of the Constitution and Order 53 of the Standing Orders of Parliament. Both requests were signed by more than the constitutionally required signatories of 15% of all members of Parliament. The first request entreats the House to deliberate upon and transact urgent government business. And the businesses were tabulated, and from what we had, there were not many, just a few. The second request, dated 24th, simply added many more items for the consideration of the House. So from the initial request for us to consider 5 items, this second request added 17 more items. And this request came from the NPP members of Parliament, and it was signed on their behalf by the second Deputy Majority Whip, Honorable Alex Tete Jodubois. In fact, both requests were signed by him. Honorable members, I had, under the dictates of the provisions of the Constitution, to issue the summons for you to be here today. And I duly complied with the constitutional provision and got the administration to get the summons published to the notice of all of you. Unfortunately, the signatories who made the request have not shown up, and therefore matters that they wanted us to handle, which are admitted for the consideration of the Business Committee, are not on the order paper, and in fact there's no order paper for today because the Business Committee could not meet due to the absence of the people who requested for the recall. And as you can see, one side of the House is completely empty. In view of this, we have, as usual, got a quorum to sit, but we have no business before us to transact, because the Business Committee, as you know, they prepare a report, and this report is adopted by the House as business agreed by the House to transact during the course of the week. In the absence of that, there is no other authority that can put business before you which you have not adopted to transact. In view of the failure of the Business Committee to sit, as a result of the refusal of those who requested for the recall to show up, we are compelled to once again adjourn the sitting of the House. Knowing the challenges we are facing, it is not advisable to be adjourning from day to day. And so I'll proceed once more to adjourn the meeting indefinitely. And the meeting, this extraordinary meeting, is accordingly adjourned.
I must also say that whilst engaging him, I saw a member of parliament for Adansi Asokwa, KT Hammond, also make his way towards the chamber. I'm not too clear what his intentions are, but I was saying to you prior to the minority walking out after the House was adjourned that we saw some members of parliament from the NPP side, numbering about 7 of them, make their way to the chamber, not necessarily inside, but they came to the precincts. They came to ascertain for themselves what was happening here, and they just turned back. But right now, Member of Parliament for Adansi Asokwa is engaging the press. KT Hammond.
Of the Supreme Court to be respected.
The Speaker acknowledged
that what?
Of the Supreme
And
Court
that
the last
what?
Time he did say
Well,
that he has been served with copies of the judgment of the Supreme Court.
And so what is it? It is not a question of acknowledgement. It's a question of implementation of the decision of the Supreme Court.
No MPs,
yes.
none of the
you
four
are,
MPs
again,
have
you are
been
not
blocked.
listening.
No,
again, you are not listening.
Yes, but none of the four MPs have been blocked from coming to Parliament. None of them have come in here, and they've been blocked from accessing the Chamber of Parliament.
You are not listening. You are not listening. I think I'm going to have to say this for the last time because it looks like some of you have become impervious to what is it. Listen to this. The Speaker made a ruling.
Yes.
It was unconstitutional. It was unlawful. By any account, it was illegal. The Supreme Court, contrary to the assertion by he himself and some members of the minority who keep proclaiming from high roofs and high heaven, is that the Parliament is a master of its own rules and regulations. The Supreme Court is told Bagbin at Parliament that you are not. There is an institution which is the master of the rules of Parliament, and that this is what the law is. That you cannot make the decision, the proclamation that you made. I call it proclamation because you think he's a king, he's whatever, he's a lord unto himself. But you made a ruling. It is not right. Supreme Court is telling you it is not right. Go back to that house. Can I not complete? Can I not complete? I should complete. Go back there. To do what? Yes, it will be the interest of Ghanaians for the Speaker to respect the ruling of the Supreme Court. Come back to this side rather than continuously adjourning. He is disrespecting the ruling of the Supreme Court.
None of the four MPs
you are not listening.
Disallowed from coming in.
You are not listening.
No, when did any of the four MPs come in and they were asked not to come?
You know where they were.
Because today the second deputy speaker's aide has been in the chamber, but the second deputy speaker himself has not been inside.
You may want to take some medication.
Yes,
it has no point shouting when you are ignorant of the matter.
Yes,
what it is this: it's not for the four people to simply show up. The Speaker has made a ruling barring them from coming to the Parliament. Supreme Court is reversed it. It is for the Speaker to sit up there and tell the House that his decision has been reversed, and so we
How will it be reversed if you are not seated?
Honorable, you say you are going to cite the Speaker for contempt.
That is not properly convened.
I mean, you are going
How would the Speaker reverse his decision?
Again, I'm saying that you either want to take leave of your senses or you listen to what I am saying. If you are not prepared to listen to what I'm saying and just listen to your own voices, we are not going to get anywhere. Look at the paucity of cameras. Everybody is listening, but you don't seem to be listening and concentrating on what I'm saying. It is not a question of our presence in there or not. It is for the Speaker. If it is only about 100 people who are coming to the room there, minority and the majority will constitute the composition of the House in its entirety, which never comes in there, provided that we have enough to constitute the House and then start business of the House. We should do it. So even if he had 99, which is 1/3 of what to form the quorum, it was for the Speaker to make the announcement in the House that his ruling has been stayed, has been overset. Accordingly, minority back to where you were, majority back to where you have been. That is the simplest solution that we're talking about.
You say you're going to search him for contempt.
Yes.
When are you doing this?
Watch the space.
Watch the space. I mean, finally, the Speaker says that the majority has failed to convene a business meeting yesterday,
you see,
so that they can put the business for this emergency.
I keep saying that first things first. First is for the Speaker to declare in that House the same way as Cathedral, the same way he did to make that. Well, you can keep on making that foolish statement. It doesn't take you anywhere. But what it is that it is for the Speaker to sit up there and make the pronouncement that the Supreme Court is already overset his decision, and accordingly we should come back and sit where we sit. Then the business of the House begins.
Just briefly.
Wow. So, Honorable K.T. Hammond addressing the press there on what just transpired in Parliament. He makes the point that the Speaker of Parliament doesn't have the constitutional, is not mandated by the Constitution to go ahead with the kind of ruling he gave in the House today.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen of the press, we, the MPP Majority Caucus, have called you this afternoon to address some few concerns regarding the conduct of the Speaker of Parliament. You may recall that Mr. Speaker made some pronouncement on the floor of the House, which resulted in the NDC Minority Caucus proclaiming themselves to be the so-called new majority. Speaker subsequently, at a pre-sitting meeting, after the Supreme Court has stayed his ruling, said to us as leadership that he has not declared the NDC as the majority. Neither has he expressed a constitutional opinion on those 4 individuals, and that what he did amounted to an opinion that he expressed on the statement by Honorable Kesel Ato Forson. At the said pre-sitting meeting, I, on behalf of my colleagues, the majority, inquired from Mr. Speaker whether our friends who were seated to his right would be allowed by him to sit there, because that was not their rightful place, in view of his own admission that he had not proclaimed them as such nor declared them as such. Speaker responded that indeed sitting arrangement of Parliament was the responsibility of the clerk to Parliament. This took me to the next step of inquiring from the clerk whether he allowed the NDC minority to sit on our seats. He said, indeed, we had our name tags, that is the MPP majority had their name tags at those seats that we already occupied, and that it was not he who did that. So obviously, one was expecting Mr. Speaker to direct the NDC to do the right thing. He refused. Subsequently, Mr. Speaker engaged the Council of State, or perhaps let me say the Council of State held meetings with Mr. Speaker. As a majority leader and leader of government business and leader of the House, I had the opportunity to also meet with them. The understanding I had from the meeting as a sequel to the meeting they had already held with Mr. Speaker was to the effect that Mr. Speaker will direct the NDC minority to sit at their right place, which is the left of Mr. Speaker. That was the understanding I had. I subsequently had a call from the Peace Council the Peace Council informed me that they had engaged Mr. Speaker on the issue before Parliament, and Mr. Speaker had indeed indicated to the Peace Council that he had not ruled, neither has he proclaimed the NDC minority, and that should we resume or should Parliament reconvene, the NDC minority will go back to their seats. Several other prominent Ghanaians, who for some good reasons I would not want to mention their names, who had engaged Speaker on this matter, had also reached out to us, the majority caucus, and assured us that Mr. Speaker's engagement with them resulted in he admitting that indeed there was no such ruling, which ruling would now proclaim the NDC as a so-called new majority. Now, from the horse's own mouth, granted that all these prominent people misrepresented to us, the majority, yesterday, Mr. Speaker himself, in his press conference in the afternoon, enumerated a number of things. Amongst them, he said he had not made a ruling. He told the whole of the country that he had not made a ruling. So, if he claims that what he did was a formal communication in response to a statement from the minority leader, then why is he supervising chaos in the House? What Mr. Speaker did today amount to supervising chaos and bringing the image of democracy to disrepute. Yes. The NDC minority members were all over claiming that we, the majority, did not attend a so-called business committee meeting that they called. Who are they? When did we constitute a new committee in Parliament? I chair the business committee of Parliament. And when the clerk to Parliament asked for the business committee meeting, I was very explicit that the subject matter of the recall, which was approved by Mr. Speaker, is a very matter for consideration. So there's no need to have another business committee. Business committee is to decide on the business of the House. On this occasion, you have made an application, which application has been granted. And the items that were approved were the very things to be decided on. So I directed that the order paper should be printed to reflect all those items. Fortunately, Mr. Speaker himself read the two letters, the first one and the second one that amended the first, and indicated to the whole country that indeed our deputy majority whip, the second deputy majority whip, had actually sent those letters to him. He acknowledged him as such. Clearly, the NDC is on a warpath. They want confusion in this country. They want lawlessness in this country. And all these are being supervised by Mr. Speaker. Yes. It is sad. It is very sad. And I would want to entreat you, the media, to call them out, to call the NDC out, to call Mr. Speaker out. Because what is it? What at all is the issue? You have made a ruling which you now say is an opinion. We disagreed with you. We've gone to another forum where, by law, that forum has the power to interpret the law. We respected Mr. Speaker's ruling. In all of these, my first interview after his ruling was to the fact that I respect him, I disagree with him, therefore my colleagues and I were withdrawing from the chamber and will pursue the matter at the Supreme Court, which matter he was already aware was pending at the Supreme Court. And I will repeat the point I made a week ago. Mr. Speaker had assured me in the presence of the second deputy speaker, Honorable Kwaku Annan, in his office, that in view of the pendency of the suit, although the NDC had filed that petition, which petition was mounted by Harun Idrisu, he would hear them but will wait and abide the decision of the court. I was fair enough. I was transparent enough to have engaged him as a head of this assembly, that because Haruna had raised the issue and to avoid confusion, I was going to the Supreme Court to seek interpretation. I did not go to Supreme Court in bad faith. And it wasn't the case that a matter was happening in Parliament and I ran away to the Supreme Court. I ran away from Parliament to Supreme Court to seek refuge. No. I foresaw confusion. And indeed, what Haruna Idrisu filed, why did they set it aside? Haruna Idrisu had initiated a process under Order 99 of our rules, which will require a process to be set in motion. Why did they suddenly come under Order 93, which allows for a statement? When in the history of this parliament, since 1992, did a statement metamorphose into a motion? Which motion now will require a ruling? You see, Speaker is setting the country on fire. Yesterday, we were disappointed with his non-reconciliatory posture during this press conference. Indeed, we, the majority caucus, call on Mr. Speaker one more time to demonstrate statesmanship. We want Mr. Speaker to know that although we were not happy on the day he was elected, some of our colleagues perhaps has seen something good in him. It wasn't the NDC that put him there for him to do the bidding of the NDC. Perhaps people felt that he could be someone who will bring all of us together. Yes. There are things that we cannot say into the camera. But Mr. Speaker is hurting democracy. Yes. What Mr. Speaker is doing is to rehearse what the NDC is likely to do should they lose power, to bring chaos, to cause confusion. How can Mr. Speaker say that he respects the Constitution, but he will not subject himself to the dictate of the judiciary? How can you say that the judiciary is in collusion, is colliding with the president, and you mention the president as a person, as an individual? How? What Mr. Speaker is doing is in bad faith. First of all, he subjected himself to the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. And after losing at the Supreme Court, he turns around to attack the Supreme Court. His own lawyer, my respected senior Tadiusori, in court, argued forcefully that Mr. Speaker made a ruling, and he sought to justify the so-called ruling and even challenge the jurisdiction of the court in entertaining my application. For him, the matter comes under Article 99 of the Constitution and not under Article 197. 97 G and H of the Constitution. To the NDC lawyer, to the Speaker's lawyer, who had received firm instructions from the Speaker, the position of the Speaker was home and dry, was on all fours right, and that Mr. Speaker had ruled, and that those members could not come to Parliament. Again, he had emphasized that the right forum was the High Court. Yes. All these points canvassed by Mr. Speaker's lawyer were overruled. The matter was heard in the full glare of the public. There was a live broadcast of the Supreme Court proceedings of that day. The ruling of the Supreme Court has been procured by me as plaintiff. The Supreme Court bailiff has served the ruling, the second ruling, on Mr. Speaker. His lawyers were given up to 3rd of November to file their written submissions, statements of case in defense, if any.
Yo, it is for waiting and someone about the so we are subscribed to channel here for more than say over subscribe to the channel. No, now so or like the video, give us a thumbs up. Now Shema Ato Forson maybe here Sanse Hadie latest and hot news na mede bremo afeso also betimi achere working afire at some way now comment box ubeti minkabi in my next video.
Thanks for watching. Like and share the video. You can also drop your comment. Please don't forget to subscribe. Click on the bell to turn on the notification.